Hey, how you doing? And thanks for visiting the studio. A lot of good comments and questions on last week's encaustic video, and I'll get to them and we'll talk a lot more about encaustic as we move forward throughout the year. There's so many different ways to work with encaustic, so I think the best way to do that is just to keep revisiting the subject. Now today I'm going to paint a gold Marilyn Monroe on the bottom of a skateboard, and this is inspired by the artist Andy Warhol, who was a pop artist. And if you're not familiar with Andy Warhol, do a Google search and check out some of his paintings. Now, to get started on this project, the first thing I did was give the blank a light sanding so the paint sticks a little bit better. And then I primed the skateboard with a foam roller with an acrylic latex primer. And the next step was to create an image and then print the image out and make a stencil. And once the stencil's cut, I'm ready to get started. Just a quick note, when you make a stencil, you need to use what's referred to as a bridge. So you can see I have a line going across the lips to the teeth. If I were to just cut the lips out, then I would lose the teeth also. And I also have a bridge here from the paper to the hair and also here. I finished cutting out the stencil, and the next step is to center it on the board and then tape it down so it doesn't move around. I'm going to paint over the stencil using a foam roller, and I'll spread some of the paint out here on the cardboard. And I want to get just a little bit of paint on the roller. I don't want to saturate it or it will destroy the stencil. The next step is to paint over the stencil, and I want to try to roll in the direction that is least likely to destroy the stencil. And I'll use a brush to fill in the areas where I used a bridge. It's been about a half hour, and now the painting's dry and I can move on to the next step, which is to paint the rest of the skateboard with a product called Wonder Size. I'll let that dry and then I can start to gold leaf the board. Now the blue paint that I used, it's an acrylic latex paint, just in case you were wondering. I'll start by cutting in with a smaller brush around the image, and then I'll move on to a bigger brush to paint the whole board. If you're having a hard time seeing whether or not you have the adhesive or the Wonder Size on the board, you can kind of see where it is and where it isn't if you look at it in a certain light. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to find out if there's any spots that I missed, and if I did, I'll go back and hit them. It's been about 10 or 15 minutes and the sizing is now dry, and it has kind of like a tacky feel. And now I can start to apply the gold aluminum foil. The next step is to use a soft dry paintbrush and gently push the gold foil into the sizing. Once you've basically smoothed out the gold, then you can be a little more aggressive with the brush and just keep working it, and you're knocking off all the loose pieces. And basically, the gold foil will stick anywhere that there is the adhesive or the sizing. So that's why I didn't put any of the sizing on the image. And basically, I'll just take the brush now and keep working over the surface until all those little loose pieces are gone. Well, I'm just about finished with the board, and the next step is to bring it outside and give it a few thin coats of clear spray lacquer. Okay, well that's just about it, and this was a pretty fun project, and one of the reasons for that is there's not a lot of drying time in this process, so everything moves along pretty quickly, which is nice. Now, you obviously don't need to use this process just for painting a skateboard. I just thought that would be fun because I'm teaching my kids about pop art and who Andy Warhol is. Andy Warhol was famous for painting paintings of Marilyn Monroe in a gold field along with the Campbell soup cans and all kinds of great graphic art. So if you're not familiar with Andy Warhol, definitely check him out. But other paintings, this is some floral paintings that I've done using the same process. I use this process for making gold leaf frames. Really, you know, it's sort of endless what you can do with it. So I hope you got something out of the video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.